Well, we're back, and apparently we've had a bit of a problem with sound. So, can everyone out there just let us know if they can hear this? I'd really appreciate that, so we can know whether to go on or whether we've got an actual failure with our microphone system. Can everyone hear me? Hello? Is there anyone out there? Okay then. Well, let's have I don't know. We'll just keep going. Okay, we've got sound. Okay, hallelujah. Should we start from the beginning, do you think? Let's start from the beginning. Okay. Right, well, we've had a little bit of a head start here. So we'll go over time tonight because we did have a bit of an issue with the sound. And, so here we go from the very beginning. So this is Julie Dixon. Now, Julie, I've known Julie for a little while now, and we were involved in business a long time ago, and we're just trying to work out how long ago, just 5 minutes beforehand, and we were getting on to personal life and life, life as a child with two parents that stayed together, which is fantastic because, you just don't hear that very often. So I asked you if you had any siblings, and you told me that you'd had a brother who took his own life, and he was 2 years younger than you.
That's correct.
So this is where we're up to right now with our last recording, and kind of finished on that. So we're going back to, what year would this have been?
1986, 87, 88, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly.
Late 80s.
Yeah.
And your brother actually lived with you and your husband because he had a job that it was like
he was a caretaker of vacant migrant centres that had been used as migrant centres in the past, and so those government buildings, and he worked on 24/7 and then off 24/7.
So he'd have a big break.
Yes.
So in one of those breaks, he'd come and live with you and husband in Sydney.
That's correct.
And he was actually from Wollongong, is that?
He was doing work at Wollongong. He worked at Cabramatta and Wollongong, and our family is from Maitland. So he had been living in Queensland and had moved down to take up that job. Yeah.
And he was 2 years younger than you.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so he'd come to stay with you, and he'd gone back to...
Yeah, he'd gone back to work. He spent about 2 months with us, everything seemed pretty normal.
And that's what I said. Was there any indicator that was anything wrong, or
not a thing?
Did he act differently, or no, you couldn't pick up on anything?
No, not a thing.
And we've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people that we've spoken to about this situation have said the same thing.
Yeah.
There was nothing, otherwise they would have done something.
Well, it was even, after my parents came and let me know that he'd taken his life, because the police had to find my mum and tell her, and then my mum went to my dad's work and she told him, so she copped the first bit of news, and then she had to tell Dad, and then they had to drive to Sydney and tell me, and within 2 days, I think that was the Thursday night, and the next day we actually had to drive down to Wollongong and go and see the police and go to the place where he had lived, and that really confirmed that whole thing about there's no indication, because when you walked in the door, it was just like he'd walked out and gone down to the shops. There was a pile of dirty washing on the floor, there was dirty saucepans on the stove, there were notes and bills to pay, and it just looked like a really lived-in house that had no indication of any planning to do anything.
Yes, there's no preparation at all. It was just something that he decided to do.
Yeah.
So if you did miss the beginning of this, Julie's brother took his own life at the age of 25.
25, or just before he was 25.
Just before he was 25. So we're talking about that whole situation. So you were married at that time and working full time.
Yes.
Yeah. So did you have time off from that?
I had the week between when I found out and the funeral, and then I went back to work after that. I found at the time that trying to create some normality in my life and do things that were routine actually was a way of helping to cope. I mean, we had an extended period between when we found out and when the funeral was, because he hadn't been to a doctor. So, and because it was a suicide, we actually had to wait for an autopsy to be conducted. And so even we had to make plans for the funeral and not know when we were actually going to have a body to bury. And so people were asking us about when was the funeral going to be and all that. So it was a little bit extended because we had to wait for that to occur.
And you found that having a bit of normalcy in your life and going to work and doing that helped you through that situation.
Yeah. So in that really intense period.
Yeah.
I mean, having a little bit of time. I mean, you do lots of crying, and you feel very vacant, and you there's a massive. It's almost like a physical emptiness in your body, and because it's such a shock. I mean, you know, my mum and dad they had to deal with the fact that their child had left this earth before they did.
And that's horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah.
No one wants to bury their own child, you know, and yeah, it's heartbreaking stuff. I mean, I've met and I have interviewed people before with that situation, and like they say that, you know, that's the one thing that you never think of in life, that you'd be burying your own child. It's something that you just don't think about because you think that it's never going to happen.
Yeah. And there was a lot of adjustment too, because I had only one sibling. Losing my only brother was a big adjustment because I became an only child. And so there was an adjustment in that as well. And for my mum, it was about, I was held up as, I'm good as a mum, because one of the things that comes up for mothers is about, what have I done wrong? What didn't I teach them? How did I not help them? How did I not support them? Where did I not do what I should have done as a mum? So there's all this, it brings up a whole lot for parents as well as the siblings.
So was he married? Did he have children or anything?
No, he wasn't married. He had a girlfriend before he moved back to New South Wales. But, you know, he wasn't married and he had no children. So, yeah.
Wow, it must have been hard, I guess, for you too. And like you're saying, you are now the only child. That's what's happened. So, what happened as far as the dynamics in that family situation with your parents? Because now that you've pointed out to us that you are now the only child. So, how did the dynamics change in that way?
It was a little bit interesting because I was married. In a way, it was sort of like there was still a male child in the family unit. But when my husband and I divorced, that was when another level of grief occurred for my parents. So, you know, grief is an interesting thing. Grief doesn't just happen in one lot and then it's done. It is a stage thing, and it happens over a long period of time. And even many years later, little things will catch you by surprise. And the first 12 months is the most challenging, I have to admit. And, you know, one of the best pieces of advice that I was ever given, or the best thing that ever happened to me, was someone saying to me, what you're experiencing is normal. Because in the first 12 months after my brother's death, I kept thinking, I should be over this. I should be able to get my life together. I had all these shoulds that I thought would happen, and because I'd never experienced grief on that level.
And everyone grieves in a different. Everyone is different.
Yeah,
we're not all the same. It's not like, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, follow the guidelines to that.
That's right.
Everyone's different. It might be, and you know, it's all about the triggers too, because it might be you're out somewhere and you suddenly get a whiff of someone's perfume and it's a reminder.
That's exactly what happens.
Or food, you know, you go to eat something and that's something that you used to prepare for that person.
Yeah. Or going, like one of my examples was going to buy a birthday card or some card for somebody and being in the section where all the cards were said, you know, happy birthday sis, or to my sister. And I remember, you know, it was quite some time later, but I remember thinking, the tears coming to my eyes and thinking, I'm never going to have another one of those cards.
Yes.
You know?
So true.
Yeah. And also, you know, the preciousness of family. Because when you lose your only sibling And in my case, I've never had children. So losing my only sibling and not having children, you know, it just makes family really, really precious.
Was that a choice of yours not to have children?
No, it's just one of those things. I've just never fallen pregnant. I actually have endometriosis, and so I never ever fell pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah. So talking about the dynamics of the family, you know, all of those things contribute to the dynamics of the family. And I think the main thing, particularly in the early days, was more about me being, okay, see, my mum saying, here's my daughter, you know, she's got a career, she's got a marriage, she's successful.
Yes.
See, I did the right thing. So here's an example. And this wasn't a conscious thing, but it certainly was an experience of, you know, feeling like, oh, I'm
she
now the
needed
only
to showcase that.
Yeah.
You know, all your successes and things like that, because that was I guess that was a way that she dealt with the grief too.
Well, and also I was now the only child, so, you know, that relationship was, I mean, it was always strong, but it just grew stronger.
So did you find that to be like a pressure on you at any stage, or?
Probably only in the very early, like in that first 12 months, it was just another layer, yeah. But then, you know, as time goes on, everything settles. You know, people move past the deepest grief.
Yes.
And you learn to become a different family unit. So particularly once my husband and I divorced, then we learned to become a unit of three.
And I guess you're a lot closer. Were you a lot closer?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I've had great relationships with both my parents all my life. And so it was just a strengthening of that, yeah. And
you've been with both your parents, like they've been together all your life,
yes.
Which is quite beautiful, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so from there, did that change you, like internally, as to, did that change your way of thinking as to what?
As you know, we've had a conversation, and I've actually, after a period of time, I was actually able to realise that my brother's death was actually the birth of me. That I didn't really have a sense of who I was. And so for me, ultimately, it was a massive gift, because it started me on a journey of self-reflection and a journey of self-knowledge and personal development. And that's led me to lots of different places, all of which have enabled me now to live a really rich life.
So would you, because I know too, like speaking to other people, like I've said before, that when a situation like that does happen, that they tend to not worry about their own careers or whatever. They kind of feel like they have to look after their parents or be a lot closer to their parents, and everything else goes on the back burner.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said to me that, you know, their life changed in that way, that they didn't actually go forward.
Oh, no, that's definitely not the case for me.
Yeah, for you, yeah.
I mean, I think either at the time or... no, it was at the time. I was actually studying personal management, and so I did actually have to have a break from that, because I was going into my last year of that study, and that involved a project and a lot of commitment, and I knew that I didn't have the capacity to do that. And my brother's death happened right when my second year exams were happening. So I got I can't remember what they called it, but I was able to do my exams later, about 3 months later. So even though I didn't do as well as I probably would have, I still got to do that. So there was a break, and then after that year, I then went back and finished. And so I did that, and then I had a great teacher. One of the subjects we were doing was psychology, and I had a great teacher, and he actually asked me one day, he said, have you ever considered doing this at university level? And I said, oh, no. But I'd always had a hankering to go to university and study more, and that was the catalyst for me to go and do that. So all my study that I've done in my life has actually been part-time, and I've worked full-time the whole time I've studied. And so I went to university and got a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, and contemplated actually doing a double major and doing philosophy as well.
Wow.
Towards
I'd never be able
the
to talk to you.
And I did do some philosophy subjects, but I thought, oh no, that's enough. 6 years part-time on top of work is plenty.
That's enormous.
Yeah, and then interestingly, I got an offer from the university to actually go back and do a graduate diploma in philosophy, but I went, no.
Wow.
Yeah. But then I decided, that wasn't enough. I didn't really want to become a psychologist because that was going to be another 4 years, and I don't want to do that. And I was working in human resources in a large organisation. And so that sort of felt like the right place for me to be. So I did that. And then I decided I'd do a diploma in remedial massage.
Of course you would.
Yeah. Just for something different.
Just something to do while you're working full time and you've done everything else. Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, now I'll have a break. And then I think by that stage, I think I'd moved back up here, and then I did my public relations certificate, and I dabbled in a few other things. And then eventually I thought, you know what, I think I'll do a master's. So I looked around. By that stage, I was very interested in leadership, and I'd done a lot of personal development, and I was very interested in how really knowing who you are and being authentic and operating from that authentic place really would make a difference to how you led people in a workplace. So I looked around and found that I could do a Masters of Leadership at the University of New England. So I did that by distance education and finished that in 2006. And then thought, no, that's enough. Then a couple of years after that, I stumbled across a place that has given so much to me, and that's Shanti Mission. And Shanti Mission is a not-for-profit organisation that is focused on creating peace in the world. And that's not that typical,
everyone love each other.
I want world peace.
Yeah.
But actually coming from a place of finding peace in yourself. And then in finding that peace in yourself, that's how you create peace in the world around you.
And do you think, or do you believe that is what has assisted you in a way that you've been able to sit here and talk about what we've just spoken about? Because even over all the years that I've known you, we've never touched on the subject. And do you think that just puts you in that good place that you can actually feel comfortable about talking about that in the hope of helping someone?
Absolutely.
Because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think it's a journey. It's not one thing. One of the things that helped me a lot was I worked with a lady, and you find mentors in places that you don't even expect, and people that are going to help you on your life journey. And I actually was working with a lady who was a number of years older than me, whose son had actually been killed in a car accident. He was a pedestrian, and he was a young child, and it happened right outside the house. And we formed a bond that helped her understand what it was like to be the sibling, and she helped me understand what it was like to be a parent. So we had this really mutually beneficial relationship that happened in the workplace that we would never have thought would have occurred. But it helped her heal, and it helped me heal. And then she introduced me to a whole lot of personal development opportunities. And one of the things that I did was the first 2 books I read in my journey was Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. What an amazing woman. What an amazing woman.
Classic. And, that's something that, you did not have to have experienced what Julie's experienced, but there's other things in life that, people go through and certainly being tried in life, that this book is just amazing for any journey that you're on. Like, it is a really beautiful book, and it really does help anyone out there that's dealing with any situation. So, it is a fabulous book.
So there was that one, and another book called The Road Less Travelled by Mark Scott Peck.
Oh, yes.
And they were the very first 2 books I read when I embarked on this journey, and it's just been continuous ever since. What I will say though is that connecting in with Shanti Mission, having personal development courses, having spiritual community, and enabled me to connect in with myself in a way that was not possible prior to that. And you know, it's my growth and my learning has catapulted since then and made a massive difference.
Because it is really important about your network. You know, and it's certainly important for people that are going through, you know, a pretty rough time, that they do have the support. And I know I say this each and every week, but it is so important that, you know, if you've got a friend in need, go and help them. You don't even have to be going and doing anything. Just ring them up and say, are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, that's all you have to do, because that makes a world of difference.
It does.
You know, it's just that little contact, because sometimes people are very proud too, and they don't want to ask for help. And, you know, they don't want to let everyone know that they're really having a hard time. So, I mean, if you know of anyone, and there's a challenge for this week, is, you know of anyone at all that's having a really bad time in life right now, no matter what it is, I want you just to give them a phone call and just say, I'm just ringing up to see if you're okay. That's all you have to do. You know, like, that just makes such a difference in someone's life. So that's my challenge for this week. That's what I want you to do out there this week. So now, I mean, we're just going to kind of tie up. And so now today, your mother's passed.
Yes.
And your father's still here.
Yep.
Bless him. And so he's living with you today.
Yes.
And it's all beautiful.
Fabulous. Love it.
Yeah, see? Hey, how good's that?
He's been living with me now for 8 years, and I just love it.
I love his train setting. Well, I should. What do you call it? I don't call it.
His model railway.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, model railway. Anyway, so each and every week, I ask the people that I interview that if there was someone out there watching the show tonight and they were going through the same situation or a very similar situation, what would be something that you would give them? What would be a message of hope for that person? So look down the camera and just give them a little inkling of, like, a message of hope.
Yep. So for me, one of the things that's kept me going is not giving up. My mum used to say that I was tenacious, and I think that's a quality that's helped me enormously. And so, yeah, don't give up. Every day gets a little bit better, and find the people and the places that are going to support you be who you really are.
Beautiful. It's so true, isn't it? Well done, Julie. So, each and every week, all of you out there are so supportive of what I'm doing. So thank you, Kim Meredith, Michael Cross, thank you so much. I hear he's a fabulous photographer. He's an Archangel photographer. Oh, see, I do remember. And he rides a great motorbike too, I believe. Debbie O'Donoghue. Sia, hi Sia, thanks for joining me tonight. Terry Brown, Larry Lowe, thank you Larry Lowe, Margaret Moffat, Kimmy Young, thank you so much. Philip Barrington, thank you Philip. And we've got Charles Argent, thank you Charles. Cheryl Catt, Joanne Quirk, Leah Jones, Colleen Warburton, Heidi Pollard, thank you Heidi. Shireen Smith, Lexi Norris, Shari Chapman. Shari, thank you, Shari. Lyndall Dixon and Kylie Quinn. There's just some of them tonight that, have joined us. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of my world and, having a listen to what I'd like to share each and every week. It's very valuable that we support people that have gone through a loss in life or that want to talk about the grief that they've endured. And it's really important to know that no matter what in life, I don't want you to give up. No matter what, do not give up. Know that there are a way out of so many situations and that, and know that there's always someone out there that's willing to help and give you a helping hand or say hi. There's wonderful organisations out there in our communities too that are working really hard at helping people daily, going through similar situations that Julie's gone through. So, no matter what, don't give up, do not quit, and remember that you're going to be okay. So I'll see you next week.